Hey guys, Mr. Bubblebot here. I wanted to do something different and just showcase my small but mighty revolver collection. I really like the history behind the revolvers. I know a lot of you old guys out there probably been collecting for a lot longer and know a lot more, but this is just my humble little collection. The two on the left here are my grandfather's, and this is mine. I inherited these. So from left to right, we have a Smith & Wesson Model 10, a Ruger New Model Blackhawk, and this is the Pieta Great Western 2. All really great revolvers, all have their own cool history. This one being a lot newer and whatnot, and they are all clear. I do have snap caps in these, but these are not real. These are fake. These are just a little faked so that I can do some dry firing, regardless of what you say. I shoot my guns, so I'll just clear these. This also has, so this one, you just open the side gate and but these are all dummy. These are not loaded. And I just thought I would just talk about them and, give some little history. I'll just be using Wikipedia, honestly. I mean, I don't know everything in the world, but just wrote down some notes and thought I would just talk about them. So this is the Pieta Single Action Army Great Western 2. It has a blue finish. I really like it. It also has some brass accents, and I'm going to assume that these are more than likely walnut grips. I really would like to change the grips out, potentially, but right now, I'm just rocking the Walmarts. The walnut grips. This one is a lot more historically accurate and more true to the actual Colt single action armies of the time. This is I forgot to mention, this is the Pieta Great Western 1873. So it's in 357 Magnum. I typically just shoot in 38. I'm sure a lot of people are doing that. It's a little cheaper. I believe the barrel is, I think it's 4/4 inch or 4.75 inches barrel. It has fixed notch sights, which surprisingly I really like them. I didn't think that I didn't think these guns would be that easy to shoot and line up your sights with, compared to the sights on the Smith & Wesson Model 10, which we will see later. I really like these sights, and I could totally understand and imagine how guys were super accurate with these. Currently, I've put 156 rounds through this, but I definitely want to do more shooting from the holster. Nothing crazy, just, no like crazy fast draws, but just familiarize and get a lot more accurate with this gun. It has a floating firing pin, as well as the classic 4 notches of the original, the 4 clicks of the original Colt single actions. You'll see the differences between this and the Ruger New Model Blackhawk. Some of the history. So the Colt Single Action Army is a single action revolver handgun. It was designed for the U.S. government service revolver trials of 1872 by Colt's patent firearms manufacturing company, and was adopted as a standard issued revolver of the U.S. Army from 1873 to 1892. So, not the shortest service pistol time, but not the longest either. The artillery single actions were issued to the infantry, the light artillery, the volunteer cavalry, and other troops because the standard issue 38 caliber Colt M1892 double action revolver was lacking in stopping power. For that reason, the 45 artillery single action revolvers were used successfully by front troops in the Spanish-American War and the Philippine-American War. Theodore Roosevelt's Rough Riders charged up San Juan Hill wielding the 45 caliber artillery model. So mine is in 357. A lot of the more historically accurate ones are going to be in 45 long Colt. I went with 357 because 38 is going to be a lot more cheaper. I'm a younger guy. I want to shoot my guns. I have not gone down the reloading rabbit hole, so I just shoot 38, and I'm pretty happy with that. So the Colt single actions have, I don't know if I can show this, or the 4 notches on the face of the hammer engage the sear portion of the trigger, affording 4 basic hammer positions. So this is 1, I believe. This is the what they would call like the safe. I don't know if these are on all of the Colt single actions. Let me know, honestly. I don't know. The hammer resets within the frame when it is fully lowered. Drawn slightly to the rear, the hammer engages the safety notch of the sear and holds the firing pin out of direct contact with a chambered cartridge. Like the earlier percussion revolvers, the single-action Army was designed to allow loading of all the chambers. So these are the 4 clicks of the single-action Armies. So this is half cock, so then that's when you can open up your side gate and freely spin your cylinder to load and unload. And then there's 3 and there's 4. I didn't research what all the clicks are. I have like a brief kind of understanding, but maybe I could do a video on that later. I just wanted to brush through everything though. I thought I would also just cover very briefly the holster that I have for it. This is a Skillet Creek belt and holster. I got it off Etsy. It's a really great store. You know, you hear Etsy, you're like, a really great store. It's all handmade. It fits this as well as my Blackhawk like very well. This is like their more like, I don't know, like El Dorado style. I also want to get a Slim Jim holster. I will leave a link to the store because I think they're really great, and you know, they're not the most expensive holster and belt, but they're really nice. They're still kind of new, so I don't know about like wear and tear. I don't know about durability, but they're really great. They feel great. Great leather, great craftsmanship. So that is the Colt Single Action Army. Now I wanted to talk about the Ruger New Model Blackhawk. It's not loaded. All my firearms are unloaded. So this is the Ruger New Model Blackhawk. These are the original grips. It's just like this one thing of rubber. This was originally my grandfather's and I inherited it. And I put on these cherry wood grips, which I really like. The fitting is kind of iffy, but they still feel good. They're stippled. They have a floral design. I believe that they're from, I think it's, I forget the name. I don't want to like give false information. It's got a blue finish. It's in 357 these are cherry wood grips. It also has adjustable target sights, and it has a transfer bar, which makes it a lot more safe if you were to, for whatever reason, carry this in 2026. Unlike, give me a second. Unlike the single action Armies, which have a free floating firing pin. So see how it wiggles? Don't worry, your firing pin's not broken. And I believe if it were to break, you could probably take it to a gunsmith, learn yourself on how to replace the free floating firing pins. But this one is safer because if you were to have 6 rounds in the chamber, now you have your firing pin. See if you can see that right there. It's resting on a round. So I'm not too sure if it's historical or not, but way back in the day, what guys would do is they would do a cowboy load on these guns, meaning they would load, skip, so they'd have 5, and when you do that all, it comes back to resting on an empty chamber. But then Ruger came out with the new model Blackhawk, which has a transfer bar. So notice how there's no firing pin, nothing protruding on the hammer. And this is the transfer bar right there. And as the hammer comes forwards, you can see that is the firing pin, I believe. And also there's no firing pin protruding. So these are a lot safer, but they're less historically accurate. I believe that this one was produced in the mid-70s. I don't know when it was purchased, but it was produced in the mid-70s. Here's the original grip. I have just a little brief history about this one. So in 1955, Ruger introduced the Blackhawk, chambered in .357 Magnum. The flat top and 3-screw Rugers were modernized, so it has a flat top, compared to the Colt single-action Armies, in that they had adjustable sights instead of the fixed sights, and they used a wire coil spring instead of Colt's flat leaf springs. Bill Ruger chose coil springs due to their greater durability, saying that it solved one of the primary weaknesses of the Colt design. So early models of the Colt, or not the Colt, the Ruger Blackhawk, operated the same way as the original single-action Armies. And, you could say that they were unsafe. But in 1973, Ruger introduced the new model Blackhawk, which I'm holding in my hands, which has a transfer bar and did not need to be half-cocked to load. So you just open the side gate. So this was my first single-action Army, and then I went down a rabbit hole because I do really like all of the history of like the Old West and the eras of 1870s to the 1890s, and so then I purchased this, which is awesome. So that's all the information that I have on this. I mean, I'm still very new to revolvers, but I think they're just cool pieces of history because they've been around for a good amount of time and were used for a lot, even though auto loaders came in the late 19th century, I believe. Near the end of the 19th century, we started getting semi-automatic handguns, but revolvers were still used a lot. I will now talk about the Smith & Wesson Model 10. So this is the Smith & Wesson Model 10. It is completely empty firearm, okay? Has a nickel-plated finish. It has a double-action trigger, floating firing pin, I believe. Double action. Wood grips, I don't know what kind of wood they are. And I really like the history of this gun. These are not rare guns, but I think that they really had a lot of usage in history. So this is in .38 Special, and it also has these fixed sights, which, like earlier I was talking about the single-action Army Colts. These sights are kind of hard to use in my opinion, and there's the front sight is really short. I have a hard time shooting this. I'm sure there's guys out there that are crazy with these guns, but this is most definitely meant, you're not shooting anybody at like 25 yards with this. I mean, it's possible, but practically speaking, these are used these are used by law enforcement and civilians. So really cool gun. I really like it a lot. I shot it a bit, not too many rounds. Honestly, because the grip is so thin, it really punches into your hand and arm if you shoot with one hand, which I feel like a lot of revolvers were meant to be shot one-handed because that was the technique that they would use back in the day. You can look up like World War II and whatnot. So the history. So previously known as the Smith & Wesson 38 hand injector model of 1899, the Smith & Wesson military and police or the Smith & Wesson Victory model is a K-frame. Now, I'm not too familiar with all the different frames. I know there's guys that collect like all the K-frames or the J-frames. So I don't know what separates all of those. I think I forgot to mention that this model, because of the serial number, I believe was produced or manufactured, or this gun in particular was produced sometime in the mid 60s. So I think that's very cool. In 1899, the United States Army and Navy placed orders with Smith & Wesson for 2,000 to 3,000 models of the 1899 hand-ejected revolvers, chambered for the 1892 .38 long Colt U.S. service cartridge. The same year, in response to military reports serving in the Philippines of the ineffectiveness of .38 long Colt, Smith & Wesson developed the new .38 special cartridge. And then after the war, the M&P would become the standard issue police sidearm for the next 70 years. So these saw a lot of usage with law enforcement, military police, and lots of civilians really enjoyed these guns. There's different barrel length models. I didn't write them down, but this is, I believe, the 4-inch version. There's also snub nose versions, and there are also, I believe, 6-inch versions. Until the introduction of the Beretta M9 9mm pistol in the 1990s, U.S. Army helicopter crew members and female military police were equipped with the .38 caliber Victory model revolvers. So the Victory model revolvers were they were used in World War II, and the M&P revolver was issued in large numbers during World War I, where it proved itself to be highly reliable and accurate weapon. So that's all the information I have on this. I know there's a whole lots of information out there, but I really like this gun. I think it's super cool to have. I was also able to find out on eBay, this is an M7 shoulder holster for a K-frame revolver. So I only have like a little bit of information on this, if I can get it in here. So this is just for a K-frame 4-inch barrel, so maybe not the Model 10, but I believe the shoulder holster is from anywhere between 1940s to 1970s, and I'm assuming that these would potentially be issued to lots of air crew or pilots, because they would still carry Model 10s. More specifically, I believe the Victory series, the Victory model. I don't know all the differences, but I just think this is a pretty cool piece of history. It's not the most rare gun in the world, but I think it's pretty neat, and I'm really happy to have this one in my collection. And every now and then I take it out to shoot and feel like a little gangster, kind of, even though it's not a snub nose. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. So yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments any more ideas, or if I missed out any cool facts or information that maybe you know and I don't. Let me know down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.